Hi, everyone. This is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. I've been working all day. Finally finished. Been up since early this morning. It's now 11:05. And I was going to go to bed, but fuck it. I love my community. I love you guys. And I figured, why not go do a night AMA? So the Europeans who are enjoying their weekend and the Asians who never get to attend these things live can actually attend these things live. How about that? We're going to have an end of the week update here next week and lots to say. Merry Hard Fork is coming up in February. Really cool things to do there. Going to enjoy it. Going to have some fun with it. Huge amount of software updates going through. No one is sleeping. I thought we'd get back to a sustainable workflow, but it is what it is. And we're getting it done, though. We're moving as fast as we can, and we're certainly getting the updates. Every week to 2 weeks, something's coming out. Pretty exhausting right now. It's going to be a long, brutal few months as we keep turning things on and we get things out. I just got my demo today for the native multi-asset experience in Daedalus. And I said, boy, it'd be really cool to take it to the Mint network and have people take a look at that and see if they like it. Because Daedalus is now going from a single asset wallet ADA to a wallet that can contain multiple assets, whatever people issue. And I like the interface, but I think we can do even better. And I said, well, there's 150 tokens that were issued on the DevNet, on the Mint network. So why don't you go talk to those guys who are issuing those tokens and see if they like the experience too. And so we're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff with Flight in the coming months. A lot of smart contract things are coming. But overall, next week you guys are going to get a really great update, and it's going to be fun. ETC, I finally had a chance to talk to the Lunatech team. They've been getting their feet wet in the new project manager, new product manager, and they should have some cool stuff to report towards the end of the month. A lot of improvements, optimizations, technical debt reductions, automated testing. It's a big pile of work to get Mantis to a production client. It's a great proof of concept, but Mantis in no way is ready for prime time. So this quarter is all about doing that. All right. Could go on forever about all these updates, but it would be an AMA if I'm just talking. Be a lot more fun if you guys ask me questions. So why don't we get to that? I have my Atlantic water. It's actually alkaline water. It's good stuff. They say you absorb it fast or whatever. I just like the taste of it. I hope that is vodka in the bottle. I wish. There's nothing that gets you off more than exhaustion. And unfortunately, I've gotten to the point where it's going to be a little hard to get to sleep. So I said, screw it. Let's just talk to you guys. Just watch your last interview with Forecast News. Amazing as usual. I think I did that interview 2 or 3 weeks ago, but sometimes they immediately release it. Sometimes they sit on it for a little bit. And it had been long enough time that I'd forgotten about it. And I said, oh, man, that'd be, yeah. And then it just comes out and I said, oh, yeah, okay. And then people say, I was saying, oh, I'm real fun and excited about Fortune 500 companies. And I don't remember exactly saying that. So I'm going to have to go back to that part of the interview and see what I said. But I was making a point that if you want to attract the Fortune 500, you probably should get adoption, use, and utility in the developing world because it creates a new customer base for them. You can't just directly approach the Fortune 500. But I'll have to go back and watch it again. But it was a fun interview. I really liked the interviewer. I forget her name. But I've met her a few times, and I always run into her at conferences. And we've done, I think, 3 interviews total, and they've all been great interviews. I've had a lot of fun with them. Good morning. When will you be in Okinawa? So I'm going to go back to Japan, and it's kind of a closing of the 2020 contract. So we start from where we were in 2015 to what we accomplished in 2020. And part of the tour, starting from Hokkaido all the way down to Okinawa, is a celebration of what we accomplished. And the next part of the tour is to talk about what we'd like to do over the next 5 years. And it's basically an opportunity for people to vote. decide if that vision makes sense or if they want to do something else. And we'll make the case that there's a lot more to do. It's kind of like running for re-election. You kind of go over what you did over your term and you talk about the things you plan to do with the next one. That said, we are waiting for more news about COVID. The United States borders are locked down. Japan borders are mostly locked down. And vaccinations are getting into the global commons, but they haven't quite gotten to a level yet that is substantively affecting the infection rates. So we're right now in the third wave of COVID. And as a consequence, the hospitals are at capacity and it's real tough for a lot of people. So as soon as that recedes a little bit, we'll go ahead and go to Japan, and we can actually have gatherings. We'll go to Japan. So the big thing is going to be the Olympics. I'm still waiting to see exactly what happens there and when it's okay to have larger gatherings in Japan and when Japan has a higher vaccination rate. So we'll see. So we haven't quite planned that trip out. I'd love to do it in June, but it might actually take a few more months just depending on vaccine distribution and what the Japanese government decides, as well as what's going on in the United States and what the U.S. government decides. At the moment, we're on lockdown in terms of international travel. I can't fly to Canada. I can't fly abroad. So even if I wanted to be in Okinawa, I can't quite get there yet. What's in your pocket? It's like, what's in your wallet? These are Lamy pens. I always try to carry 2 of them. What is the easiest to start developing on Cardano? I'm a senior in computer science, and I will be applying to graduate school in the fall. Well, I don't know what your emphasis in computer science was, but I'll assume you had a standard American computer science education. So you took a course in algorithms, you took a course in programming languages, you know a little bit about databases and networks, you did all the standard CS courses, you did some discrete math, you probably did calculus and these things. And so you got a bright enough head that you're capable of handling some level of rigor. You're probably a pretty proficient developer in a standard language like Java or C++ or C#, depending upon your curriculum. You probably know a little bit about web applications and JavaScript, and that got prepared to learn about full stack development. And you probably learned a little bit about QA and these other things. So if you have a standard imperative CS education, meaning you learned object-oriented programming and you learned about imperative languages like Java, then probably your best bet is to start with Ethereum and their stack, learn a little bit about that. So Mastering Ethereum is a good book. It was co-authored by Gavin Wood and Andreas Antonopoulos. And there's lots of great guides and tutorials, and it gets your head into the whole DApp mindset and learn about how to do the on-chain and off-chain stuff. And there's great tutorials there. Then take all of those skills and instead of deploying to the Ethereum testnet, deploy to the Cardano Ethereum devnet and actually build there. Now, if you're really keen to start working with Plutus, the best thing you can do, and it's going to take you probably 2 to 3 months to get through it, depending upon your schedule, is read the Haskell book. Just go to thehaskellbook.com. It's like $40-50. It's over 1,000 pages long, and it's an incredibly comprehensive introduction to Haskell. And as a consequence of that, you'll be well suited for Plutus. After the Merry hard fork, we're all hands on deck focused on the Plutus testnet. That will be the thing we use to get to the Plutus mainnet. And that's going to move very quickly, and we're going to be acid testing it. I'm trying very hard to get good pedagogy for Plutus out. There's certainly a lot of stuff we're writing for native assets, multi-asset, and that's closely related to the whole Plutus development experience. So if you're complete neophytes of smart contracts, start with Ethereum and then test that on our stack. It's just better, faster, cheaper. If you actually know a little bit about that model, or you've had pre-existing training in functional programming and you feel pretty confident with Haskell, then there are some Udemy classes that we created for Plutus, but we don't quite have that development experience up yet. It's not coming too long from now. It's imminent. It's like it's within 45 days. That's pretty reasonable. But that pedagogy is now where it needs to be. It's a big focus of ours, late Q1 and all throughout Q2 to get that pedagogy where it needs to be. And what I'd like is to be able to just have a turnkey solution, say, go do this, go read this book, and then you're good to go. But at the moment, You can write apps in Glow, you can write apps in Yella, you can write apps in Ethereum, and of course, at some point, you'll be able to write Marlowe and Plutus. Probably start with Ethereum first because it's the broadest reference set. I think there are over 3,400 dApps that they're floating around that you can analyze. And it's good to get some inspiration about what people are doing, why they're doing it, where they're going with it. Charles, what are your thoughts about Joe Biden being 78 and signing docs he can't even read? Most American presidents for a long time have been signing documents that they don't read, and other people read for them and tell them it's a good idea to sign it. The prior administration did that for 4 years, and I'm willing to wager the administration before that, and the administration before that, and the administration before that was also signing documents that they didn't read. There is just no way a human being can read thousands of pages of technical prose every day and parse and understand the implications of all of it and keep it in context of a multi-million page ecosystem. Welcome to the machine. Hi, Charles. Have you read The Creature from Jekyll Island? Yeah, it's a very famous book that talks about the Federal Reserve System and some of the history behind it from a very creative viewpoint. Yes, it's one of several books. The other one is Secrets of the Temple. It's a little old. I wish they would create a new edition of it, and that came out in the 1980s. Charles, are you optimistic about the Biden administration for cryptocurrencies? It's a mixed bag. Yellen has said some slightly negative things. She's 74 years old. Her prior government role before she left government was the head of the Federal Reserve, where our industry spent quite a bit of a time attacking her and the Fed. So I imagine her only exposure to us has been negative interactions. That said, she's just getting up to speed, and Gensler is a domain expert in cryptocurrencies, and Brummer is the other guy. He's at the CFTC. Gensler is at the Securities Exchange Commission. Those two roles are very crypto-friendly, or at the very least crypto-aware, and I think they understand the implications of attacking our industry on the growth of the American fintech economy. So frankly, I feel that there's going to be some good, some bad, some policies we don't like, some policies actually make sense. FinHub now reports directly to the chairman, for example, and there's a lot of activities that are occurring that actually are pretty productive and positive for crypto. However, tax policy is probably not going to be very favorable or nice for us, and I also do believe there's going to be a tightening of KYC. So know your customer regulations are going to be pushed to the extent where identity gets connected to wallets and transactions. It is what it is. You know, you take the good with the bad. Charles, do you speak any other languages? No, I barely speak English. How's your game going? I haven't had time to work on it too much, but I do actually write part of the plot every day. I think I have the thing for that. Yeah, on this trusty yellow pad right here. I won't show you guys too much of the yellow pad because I have some plot details on it. But I try to write 1 or 2 pages every day, and I'm kind of old school. I use chalkboard still, and I write things down still and so forth. And so one of these days I'll transcribe it to a Google document, start collaborating with a family friend who worked with Gary Gygax. But I got a really good plot for it. I'm very happy about it. And I like the direction it's going. Unfortunately, Legends of Valor, the gameplay mechanics are just terrible. There's no leveling system, no experience system, no skills system, a very primitive combat system, very primitive magic system, no quest system, no journal system, a really primitive mapping system. There's no notion of armor or protective gear. I mean, you have it, but it doesn't seem to do anything. Yeah, it's pretty blue sky. You have a lot of options to do stuff. So the problem is I'm not an expert in designing gameplay systems. I've looked at some off-shelf things like Pathfinder, and I really like Monty Cook's Arcana Evolved. I thought that was a really cool system. And there are some open systems like OpenD20, for example, upon which 3rd editions D&D and Pathfinder were based. But to be honest, those systems don't port super well to video games. And I don't think that would be the right system for Legends of Valor. So something has to be created that is a little bit more RTS-y, or a little bit more FPS-y. You can think of systems that do that well, like the Elder Scrolls series or Gothic or these things. But yeah, it's going to be definitely a long haul. And I need to start bringing some domain people in and working with them. But I just haven't had the time. I had, after it was all said and done, 51 hours of meetings, just meetings this week. A lot of stuff going on. And all of them were Cardano related except for 2. So there you go. Will you ever purchase a soccer team with Ben Gortzel? I didn't know that Ben was in the mood to do that. I'm going to be doing an interview with him very soon. I think the topic is going to be about decentralized social networks. He wrote a CoinDesk op-ed, and I was thinking about buying a soccer team down in Uganda, the Jinja Hippos, and we were very close to the acquisition. Then Corona hit, and I said, all right, let's hold off until next year, and then we'll see where everything's at. Because that kind of decimated that whole industry. But it's a curious passion of mine, because it's a great way of testing non-fungible assets, advertising, a great way of looking at cool use cases and applications for sports. And the cost was incredibly low. I think $40,000 or $50,000 or something like that. And okay, that's not insignificant money, but let's be honest here, sports teams are generally in the millions or tens of millions minimum. So when you talk about being able to acquire something at that price point and then come in and introduce a whole crypto layer to it, it's a great proof of concept as a product stub for how cryptocurrencies could be applied to sports in general and all dimensions of sports, from concessions to advertising to player tokenization to trading, and so forth. So I thought it would be really, really cool to do something in Africa with that. And if it was successful, then actually make some deals with people to build a Pan-African crypto soccer league, and then have them kind of play up against each other, and hopefully people could watch. And then we could record all the games in 4K and at the very least have some fun with that. After American football got so political, I decided to exile. If Brady gets the Super Bowl, I might watch that because he's grandfathered in. But I don't want to watch football anymore or basketball anymore. I'm just done with it. So I said, I got to go do something else. And, soccer seems to be a pretty global sport, so I think I can get into that. But no, I haven't done it yet. I was going to do it last year, and I'm sad we haven't gotten around to it. The Island of Misfit Toys. Thoughts on hacking tractors to avoid subscription fees on the product you own? Yeah, actually, I just found out my HP printer has a subscription, and they can remotely disable my printer cartridges. There's a great movement here called Right to Repair, and it's definitely an issue. It used to be when my grandfather was around, he would fix anything. You had a toaster or an oven or an appliance like a vacuum cleaner. They would come with schematics and diagrams, and there was a whole industry around repairing things. And it was just kind of how it worked. And now we're moving to the age of buy and throw away. So your cell phones, your computers, your tablets, your cars, much more difficult to fix, and in some cases impossible to fix by design, or you have to use a very specific authorized center to do so. And now we're seeing this extend where tractors and other such things, which were very commonly maintained and built up by farmers, they now can be remotely disabled, or you have to pay a cloud service fee to be able to use things, or you can't replace parts that are non-genuine. It's a really tough situation right now, and there's a whole right to repair movement. If you guys are curious about it, I would go to YouTube and type in right to repair introduction, and there's some great videos that talk about the movement, what's going on, and it's just an extension of what happens when companies decide to be anti-consumer and there's not proper regulation. But I do believe that competition can get our way out of it. It's actually a competitive edge to say that you have the right to repair. It's a feature of a product, kind of like sustainable or carbon neutral. You put right to repair on that. Charles, quick one. Tesla or Edison? Both of them. I love them both. Edison was the business guy. Tesla was the genius. If they had found a way to work together productively, they could have owned half the fucking world. But because they separated, it was like when the Beatles broke up. It was a loss to everybody. Soccer is an awesome sport. You know, a lot of people tell me that. I grew up in Hawaii, where it's not exactly a big soccer place. We were really good with football. We had the Hawaii Warriors and watched those. And when I was a little kid, the high school that I grew up nearby had the Sabres, and they went to the state championship and did very well. I really enjoyed watching those games. They were a lot of fun. I was only like 5 or 6 years old. So a lot more football friendly and American football friendly, but soccer definitely is a hell of a sport. And I guess I have to learn everything about it. And then I'll have strong opinions about players and everything. I'll just get in random fights with people at the airport. It's going to be fun. When Africa special, we're putting together a pretty good show schedule, but we're waiting on certain government actors in order to make an announcement. So some of it's us, some of it's them, and we'll just see where we're at. It's a patience game. When you do business in Africa, there's something called Africa time. So I'll tell this story. I was in Rwanda one time years ago, and I was supposed to meet a guy at 1 o'clock. And he said, yeah, 1 o'clock. And I said, okay. So I'm sitting there at a cafe, just innocently. I show up 15 minutes early because I didn't want to be late for the meeting because the person was pretty prominent. And I'm sitting there, I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And it goes to 2 o'clock, and it goes to 3 o'clock, and 4 o'clock. And I'm thinking, God, how did I miss this time? I mean, he certainly couldn't have blown me off. At 5 o'clock, and I didn't really have a ride back, until later. So eventually 6:30. I'm just about to leave, and he shows up, and he says, hey, glad I caught you, and sits down. And I said, well, you're a little late. He said, oh, no, that was 1 o'clock Africa time. So I guess he's early. They just do things a little differently there, and it sometimes takes a little longer, but that's okay. Good things come to those who wait. So I really enjoy it. Other countries are super schedule conscious. Like Japan, they tell you 1 o'clock. You show up at 12:30 and you apologize for being late. Does Cardano need rollups or ZK rollups? Well, eventually we'll get them. All cryptocurrencies will get them at some point. And, there's some good work that's being done on Ethereum, and Starkware with Stark Dex and these other things are doing some really interesting things. We do some work as well. Did you end up upscaling that interview into 4K? I tried. I got a 4K upscale application, and it was 360p. And so I ran it, and it said, it'll take 16 hours. And I was doing this on my Ryzen system, my 3950X with 256 gigabytes of RAM and this really powerful graphics card, a 2820 Ti. So really top spec computer. It still said 16 hours. And I said, well, okay, it's an upscale from 360 to 4K. So I left the computer on overnight. I come in the morning in the office. I open up the video, and I look like The Rock from the Scorpion King, the really bad CGI. And I was like, okay, this 4K upscale did not work at all. So I called a friend of mine who does AV work, and he's like, that's a very complicated thing, 4K upscaling. And I was like, really? I thought it was just you put it in the app, you click a button, and it's done. He's like, no. There's like 12 algorithms, and you usually have to mix and match them. And then you sometimes have to walk it up. So you go from 360 to 480. Then you do some polishing and touching, and then you go from 480 to 720. And it takes days to be able to do a 4K job, man. Days. And I'm still skeptical. I still think there exists a application that I can put it in. Or I think what will end up happening is there's going to be a cloud service I can find that is Mechanical Turk, where I upload the video. They use AI, and they have some guy in the Philippines do it, and they charge me $100 or something. But it was such a good interview. I'd love to upscale it. That'd be a lot of fun. Best island to visit in Hawaii. That is the island of Maui. I was born on Maui. Grew up in this little town right in the east side. Mahalo. Would you go on Joe Rogan? Yeah, of course, if invited. We often say Rogan after Gogan. We need to get a little bit more process. Hey, Charles, are you a fan of Tool? No. Tool to me sounds like Transformers having sex with garbage cans. Da Vinci or Michelangelo? Da Vinci. What on earth are you doing on that computer? Well, obviously, I am upscaling videos from 360 to 4K and not having a good time with it. How are the discussions with Celsius going? Yeah, great. We actually had a meeting with Nuke today, who's the CTO, and it was an all hands on deck thing. Jerry was there, I was there, and Mishinsky was a little busy, but we got a chance to talk to their team, and there are certainly a lot of things to discuss. So like all of these things, it's like with Singularity, for example, there's a lot of things under the iceberg that we have to kind of go through, and it'll be weeks or months before you see an output. But I really like that team. They're very nice guys. We shared our love of Tel Aviv, and I think it's going to be a very good collaboration, and we're both going to learn a lot from each other. Android or Apple? Android. I'm a Note user. Playing any games right now? No, I have not had the time to really get into that. The last game I actually played briefly was outside of Legends of Valor. I replayed the game just to make notes about certain things. The last thing I played was Arcanum. I love that game. I really do. And it's a shame that Troika went out of business because they were going to make a sequel. And I'm very sad about that. We love Ron Paul. I love him too. 85 years old, still going strong, post-stroke. He's a tough guy, and he's one of the greatest Americans of the 20th century. And it's going to be real, real sad when he dies. IOTA. I'm still waiting on a call with Dominic. We'll see what my schedule looks like next week. Maybe we do. Maybe, baby. Check out the game mechanics on Hyperscape. Sounds close to what you're looking for. Well, thank you so much. Ferrari, Lambo, or Porsche? The girls or the cars? Lambo. That's the way to go. What do you think of the comparison between you and Steve Jobs? I think it's a very unfair comparison. I'm Charles Hoskinson. I'm a completely different person. And, I just wake up every day and I try to do a good job. And I love what I do. I love my company. I love my employees. I love our contractors. And I love you guys, the community. And what gets me up every morning is the chance I have to innovate and the chance I have to build things and do things and think. And I have so many papers to read, so many things to accomplish. Well, just the other day, we had Kevin Buzzard come and give a lecture at our company, and he was talking about mechanizing mathematics and lean. I'm actually not going to go to bed after I finish this AMA, even if it ends up closing at 2 a.m. I have one more email to write. It's the last thing on my long to-do list. I was in the mailing group of the lean mailing group. And I said, hey, I'm very interested in financing a textbook for undergraduate math students to formalize mathematics using lean. And I'm willing to pay a expert in the lean community with a math background to work with some people in my company, probably Jared and Polina and Lars, to write that textbook. It'll take 6 months to 12 months. It's a side project, and the textbook will be released under a Creative Commons license. The common thread that Steve and I have is that we both wore, I wear and he wore, his passions on our sleeves, and we follow the things that we love, and we don't apologize for that. And of course, we have our fair share of critics who harshly criticize us, but that's about it. Where personalities are totally different, goals and means are totally different. I would like, before I die, to see the foundations of mathematics reconstructed, and for math to be computer understandable, and for mathematicians to write computer proofs aided by computers. I'd like, before I die, to see the birth of a world financial operating system, to say that I had a meaningful role in the creation of that. I'd like, before I die, to see all of the developing world merge with the developed world, and for everyone to have equal access to financial services. And I'd like, before I die, for libertarian principles to become more commonplace, and for us to avoid the social credit dystopia. There's a lot of side projects. Like, I love video games, and it'd be fun to tell great stories through that medium. And there's plenty of good games I could make. I really enjoy agriculture. It's so cool to see firms like Plenty and these incredible vertical farming experiences and all the ag tech stuff that is going on. And I love growing things. I enjoy owning a farm. I grow hay every year, and I raise bed gardens and so forth. So there's hundreds of little things like that, and those are deeply meaningful to me. And I'm sure that Steve Jobs had tons of things that were deeply meaningful to him. But we all find our own meaning, purpose in life, and he certainly did, and I certainly have for me. And I'm not here to be him, and I'm here to be me and enjoy my life. And it just so happens every now and then I do things that are useful to you guys, and that's a good thing. What's in your garden? Right now, artichoke. I planted some pumpkins and watermelons. The pumpkin harvest was great. Had a pumpkin cutting party for Halloween. That was a lot of fun. Pumpkin carving party, excuse me. Got some, I think there was cucumbers in there, eggplant, and some onions, lettuce. Yeah, there was a whole cacophony of things. I had a bunch of pepper plants that I grew, jalapeno peppers that I grew hydroponically. And then I took them from the hydroponic setup and planted them. And I was actually surprised they survived. Then I had to put a bunch of buggies in there. So put some worms in the soil, some ladybugs. Going to get some praying mantises next year. That'd be a lot of fun. What do you think about the new Corvette C8 design? I assume you're talking about the mid-engine Corvettes. Yeah, they said, boy, we got to get in on that Lamborghini action. So it's basically a poor man's Huracan. Probably as fast, too. Great cars. I like GM. They make good stuff. Is Daedalus compatible with the new M1 Macbooks? I actually have one right there. Bought it. Testing it out. Maybe. I don't believe officially, though. We have talked about it. There's some Haskell to ARM stuff that has to be worked out. But over time, I believe so, yes. There's a large enough Haskell ARM community that develop on MacBooks that everything should work. And I believe through their, I think they also call it Rosetta, that you can run a legacy Mac application and it'll run on the M1 notebook. So yes, probably through emulation, but I don't believe it's native compiled yet. So you should be able to run it as a traditional x86 application and it should run. But I'll install it at some point on that MacBook and we'll see if it works. But I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. It's just, it's not compiled to natively run. Is there a dependent type version of Ada? That depends on what you mean. One of these days we should rewrite everything in Idris just to make you bastards happy. Yeah. You always get haunted as a CEO of all the decisions you've made and what could you have done differently. And, you know, it is what it is. Have you seen the new hybrid electric Lambo Sion? I have, and well, at least over the internet. I haven't seen it in person yet. Usually you see them at car shows, and I used to go to them back in the day. It's not worth it. You know, here's the thing. Tesla, at the end of this year, is releasing the new Model S Plaid Edition. It's 1,100 horsepower. 0 to 60 in a four-door sedan that's over 4,000 pounds in 1.8 seconds. Huracan is 3 seconds, and it's a tiny car compared to a big car. That's game has changed. It's like Tron Legacy. The game has changed. The game's changed. So it's going to take about 3 to 5 years for the hypercars to catch up. And we're going to see 1,500, 1,200 horsepower carbon fiber hypercars. Those are going to be crazy. And we're going to get to the limits of human reaction time and stability at those speeds. And then you'll have to introduce a whole AI-assisted driving. And then you're starting to get real G-forces on the people driving them when you talk about acceleration like that. So, yeah, no, it's not worth it by any sense to me. And it's a beautiful car. It's like $2 million, I think. They went the full Revuton. And I would not buy a Lamborghini, Ferrari, or other car right now. That transition is going to be brutal. And a lot of these older models are going to be hit with a huge price decline because four-door sedans are twice as fast as them. The battery-powered cars really changed the game. And rightfully so. How's the collaboration with Ergo going? Well, Ergo is made by IWHK alums like Alex Chirpinoy and the rest of the gang, and it's quite a productive collaboration. We talked to them, they talked to us. At some point, they want to launch a stable coin, and there's already a DEX, and they got big plans for a small team. And I love the code, love the ideas, and one of these days I'll take a larger position in Ergo and build up the ecosystem. It is really a shame that that's not a top 25, top 50 project. It's really a shame. Because frankly, the ideas in that project are significantly better than the ideas in. But it is what it is. Markets behave in mysterious ways. Do you code? As an amateur, I write a little bit of code here and there, mostly Python these days because I write scripts for things that I want to do. Occasionally a shell script every now and then. Haven't written anything professionally in a very long time. The language I was most comfortable with wasn't actually Haskell, Scala. It's one of my favorite languages. It's a little bit of everything, and I like the flexibility of that. Question, what happens when ADA runs out? 45 billion is a lot, but not enough forever. Well, transaction fees will run the network. At that point, 100 years in the future, when we get close to that 45 billion, there should be billions and billions and billions of transactions being processed, which should be well more than enough for fees to pay for the maintenance of the system. If not, you can continue inflation through voting if you guys wanted to. just at a sufficiently high threshold. Will Cardano bridge with Polkadot or Cosmos? Who knows? Would you rather fight one horse-sized chicken or 100 chicken-sized horses? Always fight the bigger creature because it's easier to handle. 100 creatures can swarm and surround you. Although chicken-sized horses, I don't know. I mean, am I just on foot? Am I in a car? I mean, I need more context to this chicken horse situation. And actually, a horse-sized chicken, those were terror birds. Look them up. Very scary. They were around 10,000 BC and before. They were very, very scary animals. They're like a super ostrich, and they ate humans. Why do you support Ethereum Classic? Well, because someone has to. Despite what the Ethereum community has to say about me, the books and the founders and all these other things about how horrible of a human being I am and all this stuff, at the end of the day, we raised money. And we raised money with two promises, and we didn't make it clear. There was a code is law component, and there was a world computer component. Split, somebody had to make sure that the code is law had proper support and that those people got a fair shake because they weren't going to be taken care of by the Ethereum Foundation. So I put my money where my mouth was, and I came in and helped them out, got them to a certain point. Other people came and got them to a certain point and then left. 4 years later, come back, and ecosystem's not really in good hands. And so we're making a proposal to do something different, and we'll see what happens. And the community will decide one way or the other. And maybe they want to do something, maybe they don't want to do something, and they'll be given a fair choice. Now, if they want to do something, then we get to go explore code is law. The only other cryptocurrency that can do that is Bitcoin, and they're not going to do that. So that's really cool. And if we win the proposal, we're going to hire a full-time philosopher to work just alongside the development team and actually write a whole corpus of knowledge about this very idea. This is totally different from anything we're doing with Cardano or other projects. It's exploring a very philosophical viewpoint about how cryptocurrencies ought to work. And we can innovate inside that space. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to do. Who knows what the value and size of that is going to be, if it's small or large, or the market appetite. But that's the point of being an innovator. And that's the point of creating things and exploring things and building a community, a distinct community that does things differently. And I'd like to change the name. If we go to a new standard, it makes no sense to be called Ethereum Classic. Throw all that past and toxicity away. Go do something novel and new and be your own man. What do you think about the bill to remove the Electoral College? Do you think it'll pass? You can't remove the Electoral College. With a piece of legislation, you can only remove it through a constitutional amendment. So no, it will not pass. Terror birds went extinct 1.8 million years ago. Are you sure they weren't around in like 10, 15,000 years ago? Maybe they did. I thought for sure they had giant birds that would eat humans, not too long ago in the age of saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths. Or maybe that was just common lore and I'm completely off base. Someone fact check that. Did the terror birds really die out 2 million years ago? Makes me sad if they did. I want to live in a world where like really badass primitive men with spears had to fight these giant birds. This is an example of what happens when a meme gets so strong, it absorbs into people's minds and it becomes impossible for people not to politicize things. It says, Charles, is that a Donald J. Trump on the painting on the floor too with people handshaking? So no, that's the album cover of Wish You Were Here from Pink Floyd back in the 70s. But you've been just thinking Trump for so long. This is anybody who remotely looks at Trump like Trump, and you're not familiar with the album cover, boom, it has to be Trump, and it's a political statement. I don't think about Trump anymore. He's a nobody anymore. He's done. He's gone. Of course, the Democrats want to hold a cadaver synod and try his corpse. Okay. But he's a 74-year-old guy. He's no longer president. He has no power. He's a private citizen. He's a pariah. Why the fuck do we care? Move on. Life has moved on. There will be different leaders, different politics. It's now President Biden. And in 2022, there's going to be a big, important election. We'll see if he can hold or not. And in 2024, probably won't run again. And it's going to be Kamala Harris versus someone else, a new person. So there's no Trump anymore. Get him out of your mind. He's living rent-free. He's been propagandized and so much hate. Let it go. Did you grow up on a farm or in the countryside? Grew up in Hawaii, so a little bit of a hybrid Maui of all these things. But I lived in a house, not a farm. We had a big backyard, about half an acre. For a kid, that's a lot of room. Where do you get your news? All over the place. I read a very diverse set of news, from mainstream mass media to alternative media to social media sources to just friends I can pick up the phone and call who are in the know. And I aggregate it all together and I try to figure out what the average truthiness is of an event. What type of doctor was your father and grandfather? Father's still a doctor. He hasn't retired quite yet. He retired in Colorado, moved up to Wyoming, and started practicing medicine again. He's an internist, so he does primary care. My grandfather was an OBGYN. Hi, Charles. Would it be possible to set up an interview? Yeah, just ping me over Twitter and I'll give you Michael's email and we can talk. Do you own a private jet? No. Will Cardano come on Coinbase? Please read my question. My wife has challenged me. No comment. You happy? You guys ask about Coinbase every AMA. If we ever do get on Coinbase, what the hell are you going to ask about? We're like, what is it? When Gemini? When Gemini? When PayPal? When NYSE? You guys. Love you too. Thank you for talking to us. Well, thank you guys for listening. I only do this because you guys listen and you guys participate. I really do enjoy it. You are the best community, and each and every one of you is special in your own way. You know that? One of my dreams years from now, after I have spare time, I just don't. I hate that there's only 24 hours in a day. I would absolutely love to learn how to paint well and go and do Bob Ross style paintings and actually resurrect the joy of painting and do a live AMA with you guys and just sit down and just paint beautiful landscapes that I've seen. You see, Bob Ross, he was a master sergeant in the Air Force, and he trained and was stationed in Alaska. So that's why all of his paintings kind of look like these big, beautiful, foresty, mountainy areas. Well, I've been to 52 countries. I've been to the deserts and to the oceans and to the badlands, good countries, bad countries. And so I've seen them probably a little bit more than Bob did. And it would be so cool to do a Bob Ross style painting, but do it for deserts and do it for all the different landscapes I've seen. And in some cases, people. He very rarely painted people. And then you guys would be able to watch me paint, and I'd be able to say, put a little happy tree here, a little happy Vitalik, put some Bernie Sanders mittens on him, and you'd be like, oh, okay, this is so relaxing. Now, of course, my demographic would change a little bit. I'd go from crypto people to crypto stoners, but you can't win them all. It'll be a lot of fun. But that is definitely a life goal. Hashtag life goals. We'll get there. You play a musical instrument, Charles. The piano, badly. I'm curious about coding. How would you motivate and inspire a person to code? Coding is a means to an end. If you're interested in coding for the sake of coding, there's an aesthetic thing there. You're probably a pretty proficient programmer, and you're trying to build beautiful things like mathematics and pure mathematics. It's useless. You're never going to run into an algebraic geometer doing super useful things to society. More often than not, they're really worried about stuff that's just out there that you've never heard of, nor can you pronounce the names. Okay, and the symbols look like word salad. So, you take a step back, that's not what it's about. When you say code, you're really saying, well, I want to analyze this data set. I want to build a web scraper. I want to automate this form. There's this task that normally requires 500 clicks, and I want to speed it up. So I'll give you an example how I learned auto hotkey. Okay, I wrote a macro with it. I was playing this game called EVE Online, and they have these things in EVE where you can buy special mining ships. You can take them to the asteroid belts, and you can mine a substance called ice. And ice is used as a fuel source for space stations. It's a very labor-intensive process, and it's really boring. Your ship flies out to the asteroid belt, floats around the belt, finds a big glacier of ice, starts mining until the cargo hold fills up, takes about 10 minutes, and then you fly all the way back to the space station, you unload it, you sell it, and you repeat the process. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Great. So that's an automatable process, and I got so tired of doing it, I had more important things to do in life. I learned how to write in auto hotkey a bot that would actually automatically pilot the Hulk from the space station to the asteroid belt, mine the ice, take it back, and then pirates would show up, NPC pirates, and attack the ship. So I said, shit, I need to do something about that. So I had to write some stuff about what to do if it gets attacked, and et cetera, et cetera. And I kept iterating the program, and then I had to introduce some stochasticism to it, randomness, because it turned out that CCP, the company that runs EVE Online, was starting to ban people running bots. So I needed to make it look like I was a human player. So the program continued to grow in complexity. Now, every time I had a problem to solve, it was because I wanted to continue playing the game the way I was playing it. And so I had to learn a lot more about programming, and I had to learn a lot more about these things. And I eventually got so good, I was running 4 bots at the same time on 2 different computers. And after just a few days, I'd make enough ISK to buy Plex cards. So all 4 accounts I was getting for free. Then I learned a little bit about networking because I was consuming so much bandwidth and rah. And I kind of stole some other guy's Wi-Fi for some of the computers. Okay, so when you have a particular problem you're trying to solve, that's what teaches you how to code, because you learn to code to solve that problem. So find that. That's all you got to do, whatever it is. For me, it was I just wanted the ice to flow. I even created a corporation that was called Arrakis Corp. And tagline was "The ice must flow." How about that? Who would you like to be interviewed by in 2021? Your best choice. I think the interviewer I'd have the best rapport with would be Lex Friedman. And it'd be really a lot of fun to go on Lex's show. Not ready for it yet, though. That's a real special thing, and it would be a great honor. Lex is a brilliant guy, and he's deceptively smart, and he's done so many incredible interviews. And I think that we would have this ability, if we just got in the right flow, to really get some stuff out there, and it would be quite special. Did you used to write for Politico? No, that was the other Charles Hoskinson, who is a conservative writer who's about 20 years older than me. And when you used to Google Charles Hoskinson, it would never show anything about me. It would only show his work. And then I got more famous. And so now it shows me and not him. But I do know him because years ago I emailed him and said, hi, this is Charles Hoskinson from Colorado, emailing Charles Hoskinson. I can't remember the publication he was writing for at the time. But there are at least two Charles Hoskinsons, probably very many. But he's a political writer. Watched the Avi Loeb podcast with Lex recently. Yeah, so you learned about Oumuamua, the alien asteroid, probably a solar sail. How about that? Barbara Walters, Mike Walters, or Katie Kirk. I was interviewed by Larry King, and he tops all of them. Who cares about these people? Did you talk about Gauguin already? Yep. You missed all of it. And we lost the recordings. It'll never be discussed again. Sorry. It's gone forever. Never talk about it again. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Who are your favorite companions from Baldur's Gate and why? You, sir, win the question lottery. Holy moly. That is great. Well, are we talking Baldur's Gate 1 or Baldur's Gate 2? Boy. Okay, so for Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Minx is one of the favorite, right? Go for the eyes, boo. Crazy Rashomon, Berserker, Daenerys I never really attached to, and obviously the players didn't either because they killed her in the sequel. So there you go. Viconia, the Drow Priestess, great romance option, wonderful character, good story arc. There you go. But actually not as good of a companion just from game mechanics wise as Arya, the Winged Averial elf. But boy, that's a great question. Jan Jansen, the gnome fighter, mage thief, is another great companion. The only thief you can bring on because they dual classed M1 and you lose Yoshimo halfway through the game. So boy, Saravok was a cool companion, a surprising companion. They should have also brought Irenicus back if they were going to bring Saravok back, especially if you wanted to learn more about the motivations of Irenicus. That would have been really cool, but they made him somewhat irredeemable and threw him in the depths of hell. Who else? I never really liked Edwin too much. Yeah, I have to give that more of a thought, but yeah, definitely the Gnome Yan, and definitely Viconia. I think everybody of that age liked her. There were special assets. I have no idea what words you're speaking. Yeah, that's a special one. If you had played Baldur's Gate, you'd understand. If not, just go to sleep for 30 seconds and wake up. Charles, what type of woods do you like? Snakewood and ironwood are both very, very cool. Zebra wood is also very cool as well. Snakewood is so pretty. Small trees, though, so you can't do much with it. Working on any projects in South Africa? We've gotten a few offers. Indlu was one that we tried to work with, and we invited him to the IOHK Summit in Miami back in April of 2019. I actually went out to the townships with them, but we could never come to terms on a deal that made sense for both parties. Then we also have been for years talking on and off with Tumelo Ramaphosa for the StudX project. And one of these days, we'll do something with Tumi. I like that guy. It's just... it's not where it needs to be yet. So hopefully we'll bring him on the Africa special, and it'd be fun to see what we can do there. South Africa is just a great place, though. I really enjoy going there. Did you vote for Biden? No, I endorsed Brock Pierce. and I voted for him. Who do you think is Satoshi Nakamoto? I've been very vocal lately on this. I think that, first, it doesn't matter, but second, it's probably Adam Back. If you look at the preponderance of the evidence, Occam's razor applies, and the most likely answer usually is. And there's no mystique or magic there, but he just fits the profile. You're looking for somebody who was in their 40s to 50s who created Bitcoin in 2008. That would fit Adam. English education, grammar, all that stuff, the right computer science background, exactly the right credentials you'd look for. You probably can get pretty far with code stilometry towards validating that. But even if there was great evidence that it was him, because Satoshi's become an icon, it's physically impossible for anyone to be Satoshi. Because a clique of people would always disagree with that and say, no, he's an imposter or she's an imposter. So Satoshi's become effectively untouchable at this point. No one can become that person. But real life, probably Adam Back. Thoughts on the Bitcoin copyright BS? Just shows you those who claim that copyright are not very bright. We have something called a promissory estoppel. And it's interconnected to copyright law with software licenses. If you release something, a piece of work under an MIT license, you can't retroactively change that license later on and say, okay, you're now violating my copyright. No, because that would be problematic for all the people downstream of that who already built on the infrastructure with a promise that that would be open source. So it's prior art. No IP, and no court in the world would think differently. But I'm not a lawyer. Consult your lawyer. Ciao, Charles. Actually, no, ciao, Carlo. Please come and fix Italy. How can I contribute to spread the Cardano ecosystem? I will come out to Italy. Mazzi, I will come out to Italy. We'll talk about it. I love Italy. It's one of my favorite places. Mi amo Italia. It's a beautiful place. Che bello. You need moderators, Charles Hoskinson. Well, want to be Luke Skywalker, Snowden holding a flag, YouTube guy. You are right. But your free speech matters, so no moderation today. Except for the times we do it. Why not Hal Finney? Hal and Adam Back knew each other, and it's no coincidence that Satoshi reached out to Hal. The code quality for Bitcoin was not so good. And also the code was written likely in a Windows development environment. Hal was a very famous programmer and used Linux. It's very unlikely he would have used Visual Studio to be compiling C++ code. However, an academic who used to work for Microsoft probably would. Happens to be Adam Back. He created Hashcash under Microsoft's dollar. See how the dots connect? What's with the masks in the background? I put them on my face. That's the reason you have a mask. Why would you have a mask if not for that? Charles, have you visited the Philippines? Any chance you would someday? Yes, I have. I spent most of the time in Manila, and I haven't spent too much time running around the Philippines, but I grew up in Hawaii, and Hawaii and the Philippines very, very close. Filipinos are the Mexicans of Hawaii. They map very well there. And my uncle is actually married to a Filipino gal, and the first thing you learn when you marry a Filipino woman is you have to bring the family over. So as I got older, more and more family members started coming, and a very large Filipino family in Hawaii and other places. Why did you collaborate with Greece? I love the food. To be Satoshi, he would only need to move Bitcoin from the wallet. Really think that one through. Really think that one through. Are you sure? Because what happens if Satoshi is a person who's now dead and a survivor got access to the private keys and decided to impersonate that person? So think it through. How did you meet Vitalik? Through Anthony Diorio. Bitcoin's biggest flaw, its inability to upgrade. If it could upgrade, we'd all be done. But it can't. The dog agrees. Barking. Please answer you. Well, Luke, what were you asking? I'm sorry, I missed your question. Barking this late. Yeah, I live on a large farm, and there's owls outside. There's 3 of them that live in the farm, and the dog's favorite thing to do is go out at midnight and bark at the owls. And you know what? They don't give a hoot. How are my dad jokes? Are they getting better? I think they're getting better, you know? What happens when Moore's Law ends in 2025? We invent something new and exciting. What can't Bitcoin upgrade? It's not a matter of physically impossible to upgrade. It's that they won't. They've known about smart contracts. They've known about improvement, proof of work, thousands of things that can be done to improve Bitcoin. And those upgrades just don't happen. Move super, super slowly at a glacial pace. And as a consequence, it gives everybody a chance to catch up and pass them, which will happen. Thus is the nature of monopolies in fair markets. That particular dog, what breed of dog do you prefer to have? Is a Great Pyrenees. I see you're listening. When painting with Charles. That'll be the joy of painting, crypto edition. Da, 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 da. Hello, listeners. We're going to run the colors underneath the screen right here. We've got a little titanium blue and Vitalik white. Of course, my favorite, Dan Larimer red. Now we're going to beat a little devil out of the brush. Charles, if I have an idea for a game and don't know a lot about coding, how I should go about it? Go to Coursera and take a game development class and take the Python coding courses and write up the prototype yourself. Got to have skin in the game. You can't go and say, I got a brilliant game idea, I just need a developer to go do it. You do the first version. If you can't do it, you're not worth someone's time. You're going to get upset if this message gets on and all my 30 questions sent it. Well, I didn't see your questions. It's moving really quickly. Sorry. This is tired, Charles. I'm having fun. You guys having fun? Why not write a game in Haskell? Terrible idea. None of the game middleware works with it. Unity, Godot, all these other things. I'm sure there's a framework that has bindings, but no, your experience is going to be terrible. Don't do that. I have a beautiful voice. Oh, shucks. You know, I was once told that I have a face for radio and a voice for silent movies. Think about that one. Why Africa? Because it's one of those rare moments where you can make money, build great products, and change the world for everybody and make the world a better place. It's very rare to see that. Will you still make a video about your thoughts on simulation theory? I'll do it during an AMA. Just keep asking about it. I just haven't had time to really think too deeply about it. I got to go do the whole Nick Bostrom thing and then make some compelling argument why life matters and we have free will and we're not all just silicon. Have you played Monkey Island? Would I be cursed if I did? How about Goblins? Did you play Goblins, sir? Was your Sierra entertainment, sir? Mathematical explanation for human deja vu? No, there's a cognitive reason for that. If you understand a bit about neurobiology, you'll get to it. Hi, Charles. What are your thoughts on all the FUD currently in the market? Markets always have FUD. Welcome to crypto. Wouldn't be crypto without FUD. They got a FUD machine right out back. Pull the lever, FUD comes out. Well, hell yeah, son. Which one? Goblins? Goblins 2? What was your favorite Goblins? Tell me all about Goblins. You guys know about Goblins? You guys should know about Goblins. How are transaction fees paid in ADA or another denomination? Transaction fees are paid in ADA for the moment. We are examining the idea of allowing native assets to pay transaction fees, but that'll take a little bit of time. A lot of careful thought has to be put in. Y'all keep asking about quantum computers. I've answered the question a dozen times. Stop worrying about them. You know, I love these questions I get. Hey, Two Pens Charles, could you please list out the reasons in order of importance why somebody would spend his hard-earned money investing in ADA? Absolutely not. It's not my job to tell you to buy ADA. Honestly, use your fucking brain. Come on. You know, I build it and I tell you about the vision, the mission, the goals, and what we're trying to do with the ecosystem and try to convince people to adopt the ecosystem and build on the ecosystem and tell you why the system needs to exist. It's not my job to make a day trader rich. Over and over again, for years in my career in this space, I keep saying the same things. I don't care about the speculative nature of the markets. It's a rigged game, convincing people that they can somehow get fabulously wealthy for no work whatsoever. And they develop this bizarro mentality. And 90% of them lose their money, and very few make money in the long term. You don't think this way. You have to get out of that illusion and that avarice and set it aside, go beyond yourself and look at the world as a whole and have collective empathy and say this is a rare moment in human history when we are building systems that have the potential to unify all mankind together into common markets with common rules. And those markets and rules aren't controlled by the United States and China and other empires, but rather they're controlled by us collectively. And every person from Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos to the shepherd in Senegal are treated exactly the same and have access to the same markets, and no person is treated differently, regardless of their geography, their gender, their race, their sexuality, their philosophical beliefs, or their economic status. This is a rare moment in human history. And that's what we're doing. That's why we build these protocols. I spend my hard-earned money on them, far more than you could imagine. I spend my hard-earned time on them. I could do a million things in life, but I choose to spend it there because I recognize there is nothing else that I can do in life that is more meaningful. Why do I make video games and think about these things? I need an escape valve because working in this field is so incredibly stressful. Just like George Washington needed to write compulsively letters to his family back at Mount Vernon, talking about where to put the trenches and the next barn and so forth while he was conducting the Revolutionary War. It was an escape hatch to not have to think every moment of every day about all the stressful stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to focus on the matter at hand when the time comes, and that's what we do. That's the point of Cardano. That's the point of my life's work. And it might take a decade, it might take 2 decades, and we're all on this journey together. If you're on this journey to get ADA from price A to price B, sell it, walk away, and then go buy a house or go buy a car or go brag to your friends about how smart of an investor you are, you have missed the entire point of our life's work and our labors and what we're trying to do. It's about changing everything. The definition of money, securities, properties, identity, voting, all those things in life. And if you don't care about that, look at Jack Ma in China, the richest man in that country, one of the most powerful men in the country. You tell me where he's at and what happened to him. And then you tell me what are the consequences of the system not working well. Would you ever work with Sergey Nazarov? Well, of course, he's got the beard, he's got the flannel shirt. Yeah, Chainlink's a great product. I've talked to Sergey before, and I'm sure we'll find something to do with him. Any news on cooperation with AGI? Yes. Ben and I are going to do a podcast together at some point soon, and signed a decision memo recently for some additional funding to that project. But we're working really closely with them, and we really do enjoy their engineers. You would have to ask that. Come on now. McGregor's son. Any optimism for Diablo 4? I hope so. Jack Ma just made an appearance a few days ago, actually. Well, I'm glad to hear it. He disappeared for a few months. I'm sure he went through some re-education. That's the point. When you're the richest guy in the country, yet a single statement ruins your business, and then you have to go disappear and get re-educated, that is not a good society. Absolutely not a good society. And we should fear that coming our way. How does ADA help voting? Google Catalyst. Look at Idea Scale, Cardano, Catalyst. We're building a whole voting system. Here's a follow-up, right? With all due respect, this doesn't make any sense. There's nothing wrong about wanting to buy aid in order to make money long-term. Sure, go ahead. Why do you make it sound so bad? Because it's not what I focus on. It's not what I think about. I couldn't care less. Markets go up, markets go down. You want to listen to a guy tell you sweet little lies about how great things are? Go buy something from Justin Sun or all those who come before him and after him. You made money off of BTC? Yeah, because I believed in the vision of BTC, and I would still be working on Bitcoin if Bitcoin could evolve. The reason why we worked on Ethereum, it wasn't because we wanted to build Ethereum, it was because we couldn't do color coins or Mastercoin the right way. You know, the reason why BitShares came about, because Bitcoin couldn't work. Nothing made any sense. You know, every single time we'd say, we need smart contracts. No, go fuck yourself. We need to change the consensus algorithm. This cannot scale. No, go fuck yourself. Bitcoin uses 87 terawatts of power. 87 terawatts. That's more than Belgium at this point. And as the price goes up, it uses more. It never goes down, ever. So it gets more and more centralized, and the mining operations get more and more vertically integrated, more and more private, more and more subsidized power. That system is not sustainable. It can't be by design. These are known problems, and the cult of Bitcoin can't admit these known problems. So those of us who knew they were known problems conducted an exodus, and we went into the altcoin space and started building alternative experiments because we want the promise of the ecosystem to exist. We would like people to be their own banks. We would like people to be in charge of their own data and their identity, because when they're not, they get deplatformed and they get compromised. We would like people to be their own payment system and to get rid of SWIFT and BIS and these types of things. That is the goal. That's why we do what we do. That's why we build what we build. That's why we go where we go. Not because it was all about making money. No, no, no. It's a lot easier to just buy and hold Bitcoin. Great. But then what have you accomplished? What have you done with your life? You've gotten money, but does your money even mean anything? Imagine the farmers in Zimbabwe, right when Mugabe took over, and the currency still had some value to it. And let's say you want to retire, so you sell all your land and you get a bunch of the local currency. 10 years later, you can't even buy a sandwich with it because the currency collapsed. If your life goal is avarice and you're chasing things, not ideas, you're chasing wealth and you're chasing power, not relationships and experiences and principles and aiding your fellow man, then at the end of the day, you may achieve for a short period of time wealth and power, but you will not achieve happiness in life. You just won't. So you take care of people, you address your material needs, and great. And some people get very lucky and they accumulate lots of wealth, but if they make that the center of their life, it's pointless. And my God, what has our industry taught people? $1 trillion of value has been created by tokens living in magic internet money in the sky. $1 trillion. I've been around so long to remember when they were worth $1 and Bitcoin's market cap was $100 million. And we were like, wow, this is incredible. And then suddenly it went to $1 billion and we couldn't believe it. It was impossible to have a capitalization that high. Is there any real material difference from that to $1 trillion? No, it's all numbers. It's all made up. Fiat's made up. Money doesn't exist. It's a human concept. People exist. Social interactions exist. Kindness exists. These are concepts that matter far more. Money is a necessary evil that we created in order to make society work. And so far it's been okay, but then we've convinced a bunch of people that that's the point of life. And you know what? It's a guaranteed way to be miserable and die miserable if you believe that. So yeah, if you want to trade and make lots of money, all the power to you, but you'll get no sympathy or empathy or support from me, because that's not what I do. I wake up every day and I say, how do I build a billion-person system? How do I build the best technology? How do we grow these protocols in a way that they're maximally useful to as many people as possible? And how do we take them into jurisdictions where they really matter? It just so happens that when we do that and we build those things, that it does actually create network value. That, of course, will result in billions, perhaps trillions of dollars of capitalization. but that is an after effect of bringing millions to billions of people together. When you do that, you create value emergently. You can't not create value emergently. If you take 100 people and put them in a room for a day, at least a few of them will pair up and create something. A musical composition, a piece of art, a kid. You can't not put humans together and expect them to create. It's our nature to do that. You create a network with billions of people in it, you will create a society. And if you embed within that network principles and values that transcend the ones we have in the legacy systems, the society that you create is infinitely better and wiser and more just than the society that you came from. So yes, you can make money and go back into the fiat world and live very well. Congratulations. It's not the point that I worry about, but it's an open protocol. And your mileage may vary. Do whatever you want to do, and plenty of millionaires have been created. Cardano was started on 72 million. Every person who played that game, they got to 11 billion if they stayed. They did fine. A lot of them are still here, and they don't care because they love the philosophy. Some aren't. It's up to you, and you make those decisions in life. I've made my decision. Which one's better? Well, I'm happy. I love my life. I love what I do. I'd work for free. Personally, I run a big company, so we have to, of course, pay bills, and my employees certainly won't. But, you know, it's not the driving factor in my life, and it never has been, and I couldn't care about it. Hello, Charles. Have you heard of Jacques Fresco and his work? Yeah, the Venus Project. Interesting stuff. Sad he's dead. Are you ever going to write a book? I am writing a book on governance. Due this year. What about privacy in all of this? It is a human right. The freedom of association, commerce, and expression, and privacy guarantees it. I like this Charles Hoskinson more than the Republican defender Charles Hoskinson. I don't defend Republicans. I defend principles and ideas. And every now and then, the Republican blob of politics crosses a path that I happen to politically agree with. And every now and then, the liberal blob of politics will cross a path that I happen to agree with. And somehow, some way, I say, that's a good idea. And then they immediately start going into a direction that's crazy, and then I disagree with that. Biden, for example, froze the FinCEN decision that Mnuchin was pushing down. That was a good thing. And then immediately thereafter, his Treasury Secretary nominee was starting to talk about a wealth tax and taxing unrealized capital gains. And I said, God, this is just insanity. What the fuck are you doing? So the Republicans, I like the fact that we didn't have a war in the last 4 years. That was a good thing. I'm very happy about that. Not murdering people is a good policy. Hallelujah. I hated the corruption. I hated the nepotism. I hated the endless lies. And I was certainly the first to talk about it. That's why I called Trump the Orange Goblin. You see, life is not binary. You don't live Republican. You don't live Democrat. We're people. And believe it or not, people can diverge from one political norm or the other. And if you think that that's impossible, then you're part of the problem. You've been propagandized, and you need to work at deprogramming yourself from that cult, break out of that matrix. What was your favorite Red Rocks concert? I've only been to one at Red Rocks, and I saw, what's his name? Bob Dylan. It was terrible because Bob was past his prime. What are you drinking, bro? It's Icelandic glacier water. Yeah, it is filtered by volcanoes, designed to separate idiots from their money, like me. Are you not concerned about corrupt governments in Africa? Don't we have corruption in the cryptocurrency space? Mt. Gox, wash trading, ICO scams, BitConnect, OneCoin, multi-billion-dollar ICOs that go nowhere with founders exiting. Guys, it's like when Batman was fighting Bane, and he's like, I was born in the dark, molded by it. Now, whatever corruption Africa's got, we got more in our industry, okay? We're fine. We understand this. We know every scam in the book. We know corruption and so forth. I'm not worried about it all. The old guys in Africa are dying out. The new people that are taking their place are young, well-educated, westernized, and they really want their countries to globalize, catch ahead, and get rid of the corruption. So you're finding a lot of young prime ministers. You're finding a lot of young leaders, and they're fired up and ready to go. They ate their Wheaties, and they're done. They want new things, and they want better things. And this is a grand opportunity to put better governments that are less corrupt, more transparent, and more accountable to their people than the government I have in my country. So the corruption of the past is an opportunity for a future that's great. And the experiences that I have living in the cryptocurrency industry for so long and dealing with this bullshit for so long has given me a lot of intuition about how to navigate those swamps and not get eaten alive. We literally negotiated a deal in a country during a civil war. How about that? And we got it done, it looks like. Who knows? We'll see in the Africa special. What the hell kind of question is this? Charles will consult with Pornhub on scaling social porn? Social? What is that? Especially in Iran? So you want me to make Iranian social porn? Is that like a special type of fursuit? But what? What do you think about Ghana's free trade area? It sounds promising. I love Accra. Ghana is one of my favorite countries in Africa. I love going there. I love the food, love the culture. There's other things I could say that were quite fun, but not for an AMA. If I ever see you in person there, I'm sure we can chat. Ghana's a good place. So it'd be fun to see what they're up to and what they're doing. I'm not particularly familiar with any free trade legislation, but every place in Africa is starting to do that. Crypto dating app. You first. Turned 50 years old today. Well, happy birthday. And I just asked my employer to transition to part-time work in order to give time to Cardano. I'm crazy? Non lo so. Hope to see you soon in Italy. Well, ciao, John. And I think the old Italian saying is in bocca al lupo. You'd say back to me, crepi lupo, right? Into the mouth of the wolf. It's always scary when you take the leap. And I remember when I did in 2013, I went full-time into the cryptocurrency space. I had no income stream. I didn't know anybody. And the only thing I had was a free course on Udemy. And I built a career out of it. So that's pretty cool. And thank you so much for being part of the family. Best place to start is Idea Scale. And go and start playing around with Catalyst. Fund 3 has just begun. Become an expert, talk to people, learn, and you probably can get a project funded once you build some connections. Have you had any bad experiences in Africa? Oh, yes, many, many. Charles, what are your views on Nofap? I'm not going to discuss it here, but there is an interesting video from What I've Learned. So if you go to YouTube, you type in What I've Learned, Nofap, and watch that video. I think that's pretty cool stuff. Uroy Voting Center. Oh, yes. Uroy is going to have that. Charles, do you know where your Italian ancestors came from? Well, some were in Umbria, some were in Lazio, some were in Florence, some were related to certain banking families that shall remain nameless, and some were Sicilian, and the Sicilians that met with the high-class ones created a schism, and they got exiled, so they had to go to New York. They became New York Italians, which are a different breed, and the Protasio family. And they went all the way through the East Coast, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York. Some went down to Florida. And my dad's side is all Norwegians, Nordic stock. They were sheep farmers and really nobody special. The Nazis invaded, and they just left their farms and lived in ice caves for several years and blew up heavy water plants and killed Nazis. And then when the Nazis left, they went back and became sheep farmers again. So very, very interesting family. They were part of the resistance, or so the family lore says. This is another lie that people tell you. Wealth can allow you time to pursue the things that matter. To be fair, most of us want that. That's fair. No, that's a good end. You'll find out that you need surprisingly little money if your lifestyle is constructed in the right way to actually be happy and pursue the things that you like. Marketing is a game of convincing you that you want something you don't need, and you're willing to sacrifice the things you do need and love to get the things that you don't need. You live in a world where we're bombarded all the time. Go to airport. Je guère l'écoute. You have to have this watch. Look at this car. Look at that. And they're fun and they're exciting, but they're ultimately shallow. The things that really matter in life are free or near free, or you can borrow and you don't need to hold on to. So actually, no, I disagree with that statement. If you truly want something, you want to pursue that thing, then just make the leap and build your life around it. Bob Ross is a great example of that. He had a very secure lifestyle as an Air Force veteran. He did his time. He was getting a pension. And most people say, go get a middle management job and, earn some money. And then maybe part-time you can paint, because that was his real passion, art. But instead, he went into art, and he was so poor that he didn't really have enough money to do something with his hair. So that's why he had the afro, because it was cheaper. And it's like he had no money at all. Why do you think he used such cheap paint brushes, ghetto paint brushes? Because he had no money. And he basically just did it because he was passionate about it. He loved it. And whether he made money or didn't make money, that wasn't the driving feature in his life. He was happiest when he was there in the moment, painting, the zen of the moment. The happiest people in life you meet are people who have purpose and people who have the capacity to live in the present and not let the small stuff bother them. The most miserable people are the people who are burdened with so many concerns, and usually wealth accumulates concerns more than you can imagine. What do you think of Hedera Hashgraph? I always have these Hashgraph people. They come on into my channel. They ask me a question, what do you think of Hashgraph? And I always give them the same answer. I don't care. If you patent, I don't look at you. To this day, I know nothing of how N-True works. Probably a pretty reasonable lattice-based signature scheme that's immune to quantum computers. But I don't know, nor do I care. Why? Well, because it's patented. And therefore, I will never look at it or use it or recommend it to anyone. You patent something, I don't care about you. They patented the blockchain. It's not a blockchain. It's not a cryptocurrency. It might as well be a database because somebody has the ability to turn it off and sue the people who use it if they don't listen to that person. So it's not a cryptocurrency. So maybe the science is valid. Maybe the science is not valid. Maybe they've solved all problems. Maybe they haven't solved problems. I couldn't care less. Open source all of it, get rid of the patents, and then we'll talk. What are your thoughts on the QAnon conspiracy theorists? You know, the thing about conspiracy theorists is that you never judge them by the things that they say. They never get accountability. Alex Jones has this problem. You know, if you listen to Alex Jones in the 1990s and you actually take his predictions and you map them, you'll find that almost all of his predictions were wrong. They didn't happen. Then in the 2000s, he got a little bit more clever and he figured out how to speak in a way where he wasn't so committal, but there were still issues there. And they were all wrong. It's just like the religious scholar who says the doomsday is coming. I think Pat Robertson even played at that game, but a lot of them did. They wrote books. Oh, the world's coming in this year in 1980 something. The world is coming in here. The world is coming in here, right? The doomsday cult people. The world is coming. Then it doesn't happen. There's always some divine reason or revelation for that. So QAnon is the latest instantiation of this. It may be a state actor like Russia or China purposely creating propaganda, or a small group of very clever shit posters doing it. But basically, they believe that some cabal of child molesting New World Order people who are cannibals and Satan worshipers are basically in control of the whole show. And Trump or some hero had emerged to basically put them all in jail and kill all of them, right? And then every time it didn't happen, they moved the goalposts. They called it the storm. Don't worry, Trump won't leave office. I was making videos in December and January, and I had people commenting, Charles, you don't know what you're talking about. Biden will not be president. The storm is coming. They just believe these things. And then it didn't happen. And some lost to faith. Other ones go, oh, it's part of a broader plan now. It's a broader plan, bigger plan. We've got to figure this out. Why does this exist? Because people want to believe the world can be so simple that a small cabal of people are actually controlling it. And all the things that happen that are evil are part of a broader plot to somehow control and dominate. The real truth of the matter is the world is complicated, interdependent, filled with black swan events, incompetence, factions that war with each other all the time, and no good answers and lots of gray areas and tons of conflicts on values. And the people at the top aren't geniuses. They're like you and me. I've met them. I know them. I've hung out with them. Well, I've had dinner with a lot of these people. Believe it when I tell you, you would not, if you were at a bar sitting down with this person, be so in awe to say that they're so special that they should be God of the world. No, no, no. They're just like you and me, but with domain knowledge and perhaps more charisma. But at the end of the day, they're special. They're not special in any sense. There's a lot of these bureaucrats and government people, and you put them together and you got a government. And then the government does its best job and it tries to figure it out. And everybody's playing this very complex game. And stuff happens. And sometimes stuff happens that completely surprises you. Like someone gets assassinated or a bomb goes off, or someone didn't do something they were supposed to do, or someone loses an election. If there was a New World Order cabal, do you honestly believe something like Brexit or the election of Trump could occur? These are glitches in a system where people think they've constructed something for control and it doesn't work. So it shows you we're not so good at that as human beings. So these QAnon conspiracy theorists are just the latest in many generations of conspiracy theorists who like to believe they got it all figured out and that simplicity will come. So let's say, for the sake of the argument, there was a cannibalistic New World Order satanic cabal of child molesters running the world, and Trump did purge all of them. What happens the morning after? How deep does it go? Is Bill Gates a serpent person? We all have quantum dots in us now and microchips from vaccines. How do we undo that? And how many millions of people must be in on your conspiracy for it to work? How many people are culpable and guilty and are just going to go and commit genocide and kill 10 million people, execute 100 million people, the evil ones who are complicit in this grand conspiracy against the public? Until what end? To depopulate all of us? That's not working so well. When we started talking about depopulation back in the 1980s and 70s, the UN was real scared about it. Somehow the population curve keeps going up. My God, we'll end this century probably with 10 to 11 billion people. So their depopulation plans are failing miserably. You know, maybe it's something else. It's dominate and control our lives. Oh, okay, great. Why does the internet still exist? Oh, but it won't. Who knows? Why do I exist then? Why does cryptocurrency exist? Why do I have the freedom to go literally talk about how I'm going to go build a parallel governing structure for the entire world? I must be part of the New World Order then, right? Because there can't be resistance to that movement. That's what QAnon would say. You have to think for yourself, and you have to step outside of conspiratorial thinking. And the first and most valuable lesson in life you can learn is to eschew confidence. Confidence does not equal competence. It's a valuable lesson. And the slow way is the fast way, always. Take your time, be humble, admit that you don't know everything, and admit that the world is very, very complex and complicated, and that even amongst domain experts, they get tripped up all the time. And start with values and principles and work your way from there. And you'll find a lot of the things don't matter. Well, that is fine, but what do you think of the Bohemian Grove? A bunch of rich white men go and get naked and dance around an owl and burn shit in California. Okay. You mean the guys who are in power somehow are all connected to each other and hang out at the same parties and do each other's wives? What a surprise. We have an aristocratic, oligarchic ruling class? That's never happened before in American history. But there's diversity there, right? Thomas Jefferson and John Adams certainly had grievances, and Bill Clinton certainly has grievances with Barack Obama and Donald Trump, yet they're all part of the ruling elite. What age did you first read Plato? The Republic, 12. See, love you, but holy God, you are blind. Yes, you are so confident. Tio, you got to figure it out, man. You know about the New World Order. You know about the global conspiracy. You got it all figured out. All your life experiences have led you there. You've read it. You've connected the dots. You know how the Club of Rome connects to the Bilderberg Group, connects to the Bohemian Grove, and how these pieces fit together in a small group of Rothschilds and Rockefellers and George Soros's. And vaccines are all going to get us. And oh God, come on, man, grow up. The world is complex. It's fun. It's fun to create fiction. The thigh bone connects to the hip bone. The rib bone connects to my wristwatch. Uh-oh. That was Dr. Nick Riviera in The Simpsons when he was performing heart surgery on Homer for $29.95. Are you a Pokemon collector? I would never be caught dead with Charizard. Never. No, I actually never got caught into the Pokemon thing, but I know all the memes. Why does Tom Vase say you're a scammer? Because he makes money saying people are scammers. He literally says anything that's not Bitcoin is a scam, and then there's a lot of stuff in Bitcoin that's a scam. Coming up on 2 hours here. We'll cap it there, and then I got to send that damn email. Ugh, never get to sleep. But I love you guys. You're a lot of fun. These late night AMAs are fun. A little looser. Don't give a shit anymore. Friday night. The mood is right. Shows you how exciting my personal life is. Friday night at 1 a.m. Where am I at? I'm doing a cryptocurrency AMA. Rawr. Have you been to Norway? Yes. Some of my fondest memories are up in Tromsø. And I have a lot of family in Norway still. They still herd sheep. Lion's Mane. Yeah, Lion's Mane is the way to go. You guys will soon be able to buy it. First time viewer, I'm excited to learn, start following you. I'll soak up any and all info, smile the whole time. Thank you for your time. Well, thanks for coming. You know, I remember when I was a kid years ago, I worked at a cat rescue. I've told this story once before, but you're first-time listeners. You've never heard it. Most of you probably haven't. So I was homeschooled. My mom wanted me to get socialized. So she always found these clever ways of getting me out of the house and getting me out there to interact with people. So she said, oh, it's a really good idea. We'll have Charles go and work at a cat rescue. So I worked with this lady called Judy Quillivan, and it was the Recycled Critter Rescue. And she had this crazy husband. What was his name? Richard, I think. Yeah. And he smoked like a chimney, and I'd hang out with him, and my job was to medicate all the cats. And she had all the cats in her house and had all the cages and facilities there. And I had to clean up. It was anywhere between 60 to 100 cats at any given time, all over the damn place. Every place you'd look, cat. It was like crazy cat lady plus. And I had to give them pills and shots and sub-Q them. And I, at the time, had these dreams that I was going to be a doctor like my dad. So I thought, oh, this is so cool. I'm gaining all this practical experience doing medical stuff with cats. This is great. But while I was there, Richard was a big Republican. So he'd always have on the radio Rush Limbaugh. And just play Rush. And I'd listen to Rush as a 12-year-old kid, not really caring too much about it. The magic of Limbaugh, though, is he's all throughout all these years, because that was about 22 years ago, and he's still on the air, but he's dying of cancer, is he built this huge audience, and he has an incredible relationship with that audience. The people he was talking in 1988 till today still listen to him religiously. They just like it. It's, you become part of a family, and you want to listen to something, and it's almost like a sport that you enjoy day by day, week by week, and so forth. And Cardano has a little bit of that inside of it. You know, we learn a little bit, we do a little bit, we win sometimes, we lose sometimes, we build some interesting things, we celebrate the victories together, and we find ways to blunt the losses. And I really do enjoy that. And 22 years later, I can't help but think of what he did and say, well, there's a small part of that in this, not the particular ideology, but rather just the relationship building and how these mediums work. And that's a gift. It really is. Especially now when you see Rush dying of lung cancer. he has all this money and this prestige and this fame and this persona, but the thing that means the most to him is his audience. And that's why he's going to die in the studio. They're going to drag him out in a pine box. He will never quit, never retire until he absolutely has to, because the only thing he lives for anymore is the audience and the relationship that he's built with them over all the years. And I love that too. I love the relationship we've built here. And there's Art Bell as well, and George Norrie, and was it Paul Harvey? And that's the rest of the story. I miss radio. And talk about humility. There's nothing better in life than learning how to medicate 100 cats. Yeah, how many scratches I got from that? I still have a few of them. And the day I left, she bought a special bag that you put the cat in to medicate them so they can't scratch you. I was like, oh, there you go. Do you have a wee bit of toxoplasmosis? What the fuck do you think? I'm an entrepreneur and a risk taker. I jump out of airplanes. I do all kinds of crazy shit. I went wingsuit training in Sweden with Jarno. I even posted some pictures for you guys on that one. Yes. Dogs, not cats. Are you interested in SpaceX? If yes, what are you looking forward to? Space tourism. All that's opening up in 2025, and I'm very excited about it. I'm going to go to space. Loved Art Bell late at night on road trips. I did too, and George Norrie. You'd always have the craziest people on. You learn about the Anunnaki, or you'd learn about pyramid stuff, or ghosts, or aliens. Man, that was fun. It's all crazy, but man, it was fun. Heard you sold fake Rolexes. I actually didn't sell them. I made them. A guy named Sheck, who would get them in from New York when they came from China. They shipped New York, then he'd get it from China. And then I would upgrade them. I put ETA Cal 2836 movements in them. I'd put new bezels on and new dial with the proper 2.5 Cyclops. And then I would change the bracelet to be with a triple wrap gold plating, and it would be weighted just so it would weigh roughly the same. And you always have to replace the clasp because those damn Chinese counterfeiters at the time could never get the clasp right. But if you did all those things, you could make a Rolex Submariner look almost exactly like the real deal. And it would hum like it. It had the nice, beautiful glide. Not quite the same as the Rolex Movement, the 3850. But the 2836 was a really great movement, the ETA. And you could get them for about $120 if you had the right supplier. You bought them in bulk. And all the other aftermarket parts were quite easy to source. I miss those days. That was a lot of fun. I was 17 years old. And I didn't give a shit. I had all the horology tools. Ducati, yes. SR2 Monster, 2003. Nearly got killed a bunch of times. Did Edward Kelly write the Voynich manuscript? I think they dated the Voynich manuscript. I've never had a chance to see it. I've been to Yale a few times, but I've never had a chance to see it when I was there. And I've always wanted to. It's one of my favorite books. And I was actually thinking about having a reproduction made of it so I can put it in the office. But no, I think it's a little older than that. But I do think it's still a counterfeit. Define Cardano in just one word: ikigai. Did I get the vaccine? Not yet. It's not available to me. I'm 33 years old and in pretty good health. They're not going to give that to me until June, July. But I'll have to get it because I need to travel. Grand Seiko. Okay, this is a great one. Grand Seiko are some of the best watches ever made. They make Rolexes look like garbage. But no one buys them because they think Seikos are cheap. This is a great example of where you need to create a segregated and separate brand in order to be able to get distribution. So mechanically, the Seikos are just phenomenal. You have these great kinetic movements in certain ones, and they go all the way up to like $30,000. So they're competing with the Daytona. You can get a proper chronograph. I think they may have even had a tourbillon in some of their lines. And the engineers there are just top notch, incredible watches. Rolex at least was clever enough that when they diluted the brand, they had a sub brand called Tudor. So there was Tudor. They kind of look like Rolexes, but they're not, and they're much cheaper. And then Rolex maintains the premium brand position, and you see a lot of that. In fact, a lot of these higher end watches like Tag Heuer and Omega, they actually use the very same movements that I was buying for $120 and putting into fake Submariners, the ETA movement line. So it's Croc, the mid-size watch range. Now, the very high-end ones are all custom, like Jaeger-LeCoultre and Patek Philippe and Piaget and Vacheron Constantin and so forth. And my favorite is Jacques Drol because of the automatons they make, and those are masterpieces. And they're made by a master horologist. They take thousands of hours, and it really is living art. It's incredible. But if you want a good business watch, a Grand Seiko is quite respectable. Frederick Constant is another really good brand that's quite affordable, very respectable, and beautiful watches. And they make their own movements, actually, although I don't think they're independent anymore. AP makes some beauties. Yeah, they sure do. You tried Panerai or Peugeot? Peugeot makes this beautiful watch called the Altiplano. It's one of the thinnest mechanical watches around, and they actually have to use platinum counterweights for the flywheels in the back because gold is not heavy enough and lead's not heavy enough. So they use platinum. Pretty cool stuff. Paul Gerber did that too for a lot of his movements. I wish they put a minute repeater in that, but then it would be a $200,000 watch instead of a $30,000. The Altiplano is a beautiful one, though, especially the skeleton Altiplano. Have you considered taking a break from Cardano to start shooting heroin? Yeah, there have been moments. Not proud of those moments. That's the 1:09 a.m. answer. Beethoven, yes, 7th Symphony, second movement. That's all you need. That's it. There you go. It's perfection achieved. Move on. Dry year over. Whiskey time? No, haven't drank yet. Waiting for the quarantine to end. So my employees, when they come to Colorado, I can drink with them. I'm not going to break the dry year until they come here, because they deserve it. They've been working together. Tone Vase says you're the Grand Wizard of Crypto. Is that like a Ku Klux Klan thing? Do I have to wear a hood and something? Fuck you, Tone. I don't know what this Grand Wizard thing means. I don't want to be a Grand Wizard. Nuh-uh. I want none of that. If Gavin Wood was an animal, what animal would he be? The Pervertosaurus from The Onion. Didn't expect that one, did you? Nah. Favorite cosmic event? Anytime we have one of those solar flares that knocks out all the power. The last one happened like the 19th century. Okay, if you're going to make me a wizard hat, send it. I will wear it. People send me things all the time. I don't give out my address, but if you can find it, send it, and I will wear it. As long as it's not like weird or poison. So I'll give it to a decoy Charles first, and his death is on your hands if something happens. I feel very nasty about it. Although I may wear it too quickly and then still die like the Borgia Pope. Or so the Jeremy Irons. Last time you had sexual intercourse, ask your mom. Come on, guys, ask me real questions. You should drink of these two of these a day. 1.5 liters each, 3 liters a day. Unconsciously, you got to admit that Rush has brainwashed you. Oh, no. I listened to Bill Press. I spent years listening to Noam Chomsky and reading Manufactured Consent. Spent a lot of time, the Howard Zinn crowd, People's History of America. Listened to a lot of Sam Harris throughout the years, far more of him. Then Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins. Oh, and Dan Dennett. Huzzah. You have to diversify thought. Dan Dennett's actually one of my favorite authors. What inspired the logo? It's a gyrocycloid, something Cardano came up with. Favorite boxer? My favorite boxer is Mike Tyson. Absolutely love that guy. He's just a beast. And favorite MMA fighter? Did like Chuck Liddell, the Iceman. Do you drink tomato juice? I used to. I used to be a big juicer. Had one of those juicer things, did the whole juicing thing. Everybody tried to convince me celery juice was going to cure everything. Not so much of a juicer anymore, although I've gotten into matcha. Does P equal NP? No, sir. We will have none of that. This is If you're going to make that claim, you must prove it. Jack LaLanne, yeah, the man who was always swimming and doing stuff. He lived a long time too. Coffee, yes, absolutely. Pour over coffee is the way to go. Use a conical burr, and there's a variant of Kopi Luwak coffee that you can buy that's made down in Florida, I think, and tastes just like it. Costs $10 a pound instead of $250. Grind it up, manual pour over. Make sure you heat the water to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and you are good to go, sir. Best cup of coffee you'll ever have. Don't I want to speak about DeFi? No, there's a million fucking YouTubers that do that. Go listen to them. This is more interesting. Yes, sir. Especially when you have your butter coffee. You take your Kerrygold unsalted butter, you melt it, and you mix it into, along with some MCT, your coffee. And then you have bulletproof coffee. NAD+, yeah, it makes you live longer. Definity, are they still around? Are they still doing stuff? I don't know. Well, he's certainly not Satoshi. Do you pay your employees in ADA if they want it? We have been doing that. What is consciousness? Orthogonal to intelligence. One plus one equals 3. You make me sad. Ever been to Belgium for the waffles? What's your favorite equation? It's a good one. Well, Euler's identity is pretty good. E to the I of pi equals -1. Try proving that with Taylor series. That's a fun little exercise you can do. Not very big on butter, very unhealthy. No, butter's great for you, especially Kerrygold. Processed sugar, we'll meet in the middle. See, we have different values, but we can at least agree on the processed sugar. Do I hire JS developers? Absolutely. JavaScript's one of my favorite programming languages. I love JS. Charles, any ideas of the application of ADA in the funeral industry? Well, people are dying to find out. What is love? Well, all I know is baby, don't hurt me. How's your stake pool doing, Charles? Haven't started it yet. I will let you guys know when I do. Probably next month. You're still going, yeah, because I watched that movie Marathon Man, and I could never find out if it was safe. Goddamn Dustin Hoffman. Can I scratch your head? No, that's why I bought a bird. Bird scratches the head. The bird is the word. Which is better, Linux or OS X? Well, Linux is an ecosystem. OS X is an operating system. Ubuntu is pretty nice. I use that all the time. Great TED Talk. Why, thank you. Every time I talk to Ted, he's always great. Okay. We should cut it here. Cody. Nah, there's plenty of interviews about Ada Pay and Cody. You guys like that. I'll let Shahaf speak for himself. He's a fighter jet pilot and all-around amazing guy. I really enjoy him. Smartest guy you've ever met? Terry Tao. So smart, your brain melts. Okay. I think that's a wrap. As always, my friends, have a wonderful day. Love life. Enjoy yourself. And tomorrow is Saturday for me. I'm going to wake up and make sure that I enjoy the day. Meditate in the morning, live in the moment, and do at least one thing for someone else. Always. Be nice.